Hello, everybody. Anthony from Traders Ultimate Edge here. Why did the market swing 150 points today? Powell was talking, but his responses seemed much more refined and rehearsed, and it didn't really have anything to do with him. This is more Omicron fears, and what we had here was just I was watching it all throughout the day, and I could see every time it fell, there was some new piece of news. They found the first case in California, and then there was some tweet by some random guy on Twitter that got picked up by Benzinga, talking about how it's more transmissible, and then it fell again on that. And there was some piece of news before that. COVID cases climbed in South Africa. And I'll break these down one at a time and explain to you why these aren't news. Number one, COVID cases climbed in South Africa. Well, they left out a key piece of information. The previous number had been 2,200 and it went up to 4,300, and their headline said it had doubled, which is technically true. But it's also near all-time lows on caseloads. The previous high this year was 26,000. So they left out a very key piece of news, and they did not use proper context in that headline. Nobody read into it. Nobody. And I think that was up here when it broke this head and shoulders. I think that's what it was. The second one was finding the first case in California. That's not news. It's all over the world. That's not news at all. Nothing new about that. We knew it was going to be found here. The third one was the tweet. The information originally came from a virologist who had posted it 4 hours prior, and then it was reposted by some dude named Gottlieb, who Benzinga picked up, and when Benzinga ran it, it sold off. Okay? We already knew it was going to be more transmissible. Now, none of this is new news. Okay? And here's the thing. If Omicron is more transmissible than Delta, which it looks like it is, but it has less severe symptoms than Delta, which so far, everybody that I've read who's there in South Africa, Dr. Angelique Coetzee did a video on this. The symptoms are less severe. They aren't even seeing O2 sat drops, really. So if it's more transmissible and the symptoms are less severe, that's actually a good thing, because it will displace Delta, and the coronavirus will be made less severe. There's no reason to think that treatments won't work. There's no reason to think that there's any sort of real severe issue here. So what we had, this sell-off, was a combination of I saw this on StockTwits. Some guy on StockTwits was telling everybody else, this is just something random, but it shows you the mentality, was telling everybody else, dump your entire account. This is going to be like March 2020 all over again. Okay, and that's the mentality that a lot of people have gone with since they heard about the Omicron. That's what's happened. A lot of people have sold everything. Now, the question is, have we gotten to the point where everybody who wanted to sell has already sold? Have we gotten to the point where everybody who wanted to liquidate their entire 401ks, when we first heard about this last week, have they done it? This steep fall today, which actually was on lower volume than yesterday, if you look at the daily totals. I'm cautiously optimistic, and I'll show you why. Go to the daily. Ran Fibonacci retracements, extensions. So what these things do is it allows you to measure the size of a previous move and then compare it to here. Or compare it to where you are now. Here's the extensions I got. And I want to point your attention here to this one. Let's see if we can isolate this one. Oops, that's it right there. Okay. This right here, October 2020. October 2020 was when Delta variant was first found in India. And we can see here, that actually goes a little bit further than where we are now. But the fact of the matter is that a lot more treatments have been developed since then. And this is no surprise because it's happened before. So we're most of the way to that retracement. Okay, let's look at the rest of them. This was February of this year. This one was May of this year. Both of these pullbacks were Delta related. Okay, this is where like Delta had mostly spread in the U.S. right here. And there was one in August, I think. Messing this up. That's okay. That's from January. Look unprepared here, huh? There we go. Okay. So this is not including October. All right. So this was January, February. This was Delta, May, and there's another one here somewhere. Anyway, most of these were Delta related. And you can see, we'll come over here and look at this. We've actually retraced. We've complete the complete move from Delta variant pullbacks before we even had the tech that we have today. Before we had the oral treatments, before we've had antibody treatments, everything. So it's my opinion still, this is a massively overblown, oversold pullback. I think the reaction is absolutely ridiculous, and the market has come completely disconnected from news. Now that's not unheard of, obviously. We know the market does that. In the short term, it moves like a spoiled child. In the long term, the market, it moves much more on fundamentals in the long term, and it's very logical. It moves on corporate earnings, right? So 6 to 12 months down the road, where are corporate earnings going to be? Because that's how far in advance the market usually trades, 6 to 12 months. 6 to 12 months from now, are our vaccines going to be working? Pfizer has already said 100 days from when they started sequencing it, which was, last week, I think, till they have a new vaccine, if it's even necessary. And there's already preliminary efficacy data that says the Pfizer vaccine still works. Okay? Oral treatments. They'll be approved this month. That's less than 6 to 12 months from now. I don't see any way on God's green earth that this is fundamentally based. This is based on technicals, breaking certain areas, and it's based on fear. It's based on a large amount of fear, and beyond that fear, it's based on people speculating on the fear of others, right? I've been buying and selling puts. I was scalping puts today. Okay, and there's a lot of other people that do that. So I'm still of the same opinion, barring some sort of different news about the Omicron variant, which right now, as of December 1st, when I'm recording this, 1500 Mountain Standard Time, there has still been no reported deaths from Omicron. I listened to a video that was posted last night. You can find this on CNN. It's an interview with Dr. Angelique Coetzee, I think is her name. She's one of the big doctors there in South Africa. She still continues to say all symptoms are mild. They're not even dropping O2 sats. So that's my thoughts on the market. I hope this has been helpful for you. Hopefully a little calming. We got a little bit of our positions off the table today. Able to take a little bit of profits off the table on Google. Other things just, that everything just kind of pulled back after that. But at least we got a little off the table. And we'll see what happens tomorrow, see what we got to do, see if we got to roll anything. I'm hoping we don't have to roll anything, but we'll see what happens. Nonetheless, keep in mind two things. Number one, when you get big pullbacks, that's where you make most of your money. I made more money in the pullback of 2020 than I've ever made in the market in my life. And number two, the faster and more severe and more emotion-driven the pullback, the higher the probability of a bounce back in the other direction. And this is pure emotion. We saw with the gap up overnight, the market just kind of devoured the news on Powell and the Fed. So Q3 Fed interest rate rises, I think, are baked in at this point. And the market, I think, kind of came to grips with perhaps around June them being raised. And it just got bought up. So I think that's not a big concern right here. I think this is all based on Omicron and concerns over continuing supply chain issues if countries do lockdowns, that sort of thing. Biden came out today, said there's no reason to panic, we're not going to lock anything down. But the market still sold off. So I believe it's all emotional driven. And eventually the market will correct itself to fundamentals. We just have to let it do what it's going to do, and we have to let the weekend shake out. So that's all I got for you. Hope you have a good evening. Take care.